I want you to take advantage of all of my years of experience to jumpstart your pivot because God's purpose for you is on the other side of that speed bump. You have the ability to get through. It's not getting over. You have the power to get through. Hi, welcome back to episode number 22 of the Overwhelmed to Resilient podcast. I'm Dr. Phyllis Hayes-Reams, otherwise known as Dr. Phyllis, your host. Question for you. Have you ever found yourself at a crossroads in life when you just felt like the life you've been living is no longer fulfilling? Have you ever felt that God deep down was sending you signals that there's something more? Have you ever found yourself sitting in a room, meeting or gathering where you no longer felt that you fit, or that you were in the midst of just a bunch of voices that you just weren't connecting with? Have you ever hit a speed bump in life where you just didn't know how to move forward? Have you ever had a loss of a loved one, loss of a job, loss of position, growing pains, loss of a relationship? Have you ever felt that what you thought was God's plan has turned out to not be his plan, but only your plan? Have you ever felt that life just seems to be handing you more and more lemons, and you just don't know how to make the lemonade, how to move forward? All this while you are multitasking, wearing all the hats, and taking care of everyone else. Have you ever felt that from the outside, everyone thinks you're fine, seems like you've got it going on, yet deep down, you know that while you're showing up and cheering and uplifting everyone else, you're running on fumes. And deep down, you know, if something doesn't change now, you don't know if you're going to make it. Have you ever been hit with a diagnosis of a chronic illness that you're just trying to grasp and figure out, how do you keep showing up for everyone and everything and try to thrive and take care of yourself? If any of these questions resonate with you, the Overwhelmed to Resilient podcast has been made for you. Why? Because I know how it is to reach a crossroads from multiple different directions, and initially felt overwhelmed, derailed, discouraged, questioning on why and how to move forward. There was a time in 2020 when I found myself sitting in a brown recliner chair, feeling very much overwhelmed and weighted under feelings of despair. My job had changed. Everything that I thought equated success. Everything that I thought was God's plan, I suddenly realized that I had been overthinking and trying to overfix and trying to overfill a gap, a void in my life that only God could. And that I had to recognize that I had started to use myself as my GPS instead of God. And I say that because I realized as I looked over life, it really wasn't about what happened in 2020 when God had to yank me off of the treadmill that I had created in life by running, putting more volunteering, putting more achievements on my plate while not being present, fully present at home, fully present for myself, fully present in my relationship with God. He had been trying to get my attention for a long time, that I needed to get it together until eventually he had to make the speed bump turn into a major hill. He had to yank me off, as I said, off of the treadmill that I had created. On the outside, I looked like I had it going on. Successful physician, a successful volunteer, mom, wife, sister, daughter. Yet I found myself through a series of signposts along the journey that I had, in retrospect, ignored. God was saying, Phyllis, where you're trying to put a period, I only mean a comma. Where you're trying to create, Phyllis, this place to that, okay, I got it going on, so now I can just be on autopilot. No, all of those experiences were just a preparation of where I'm trying to take you to. And along my journey, I've been diagnosed with scleroderma back in 2005. I have experienced the loss of both of my parents, my father in 2002, my mother in 2021. I have been a parent, a mom of two children, and to go through their different life experiences, and now they're in their 20s, and the change in that relationship. I've also had to deal with realizing that where I thought I, quote, fit in was not where God needed me to fit in. He needed me to use all of these experiences and shifting to Him as my GPS to help me truly get through that biggest pivot that I experienced in 2020, to realize that He needed me to pivot and expand and grow to go beyond my over 20 years of being an internist, geriatric medicine physician, a hospice and palliative care physician, to use all of my experiences and all the series of pivots that He is taking me through to be here for you, to be a transformational pivot coach and mentor. And especially recognizing that I wear all the hats just like you do. And when my mom passed, who was my last parent to pass in 2021, who was the matriarch of not only our immediate family, but our extended family across many states that now I had to step in, almost it seeming overnight, to take on the many tasks, the many roles, the expectations that she has filled. God has blessed me to pivot so many times. I am not one to stay down for long. Now, I'm going to tell you that back in 2020, when all of it hit the fan, and I realized that for years that I had gotten so caught up in the pivots and so caught up in life that I was on autopilot and running myself ragged to the point that I was only running on fumes. I was functionally overwhelmed. I wasn't fully present. I wasn't engaged. I did not enjoy. I couldn't fully enjoy the moments with my family and with my closest friends when my kids were in their activities because my mind was always racing. Yet, in the midst of that, I have been able to overcome all of those pivots of loss, of a chronic disease diagnosis, of change in job, of change in relationship, to make the pivot, to shake off the feelings of overwhelm, to tap into my inner resilience. So I had the courage to step forward into God's purpose and live the life of my dreams. And through this podcast, it is my prayer and my joy to join you every week to help you make your pivot and to share with you the tools, the advice that I have gleaned, the recommendations, the wisdom that I have gained so that I can pivot. I want you to take advantage of all of my years of experience to jumpstart your pivot because God's purpose for you is on the other side of that speed bump. You have the ability to get through. It's not getting over. You have the power to get through. Losing a loved one, losing a loved one to death, a parent, a sibling, a spouse, losing a relationship because there was just a disconnection, a separation, dealing with being a parent and letting go to allow your children as they mature to live their journey, because it sure is difficult, to have the courage and the ability to get through changes at work. Maybe when you started at that job, the culture was a certain way, your position was a different way. Maybe you are working under someone that is, maybe their skill set isn't as strong as yours. They don't have as much experience as you have. Maybe you've dealt with harassment or bullying on your job, and God is saying, enough is enough. I need you to pivot out of this position. Or I need to pivot your mindset so that you can continue to work, but no longer see your job as the end, but a means to get you where God is really taking you. You have the ability. It's in you. It's been in you since you were born. Yes, it's difficult to pivot. We are hit with a lot of thoughts that come through. And of course, Satan doesn't want you to move forward. He's always going to be talking in your ear, and he's going to make it come back to how you're not enough. But I'm going to tell you that you were born enough. And just because life is throwing you a lot of lemons right now doesn't mean that you cannot make lemonade, that God does not have a plan, because He has a plan. So I want to reintroduce myself to you. I'm Dr. Phyllis, your transformational pivot coach and mentor. I welcome you back, or welcome you to, if this is your first time visiting our Overwhelmed to Resilient podcast family. I welcome you. And I hope that you will meet me here every week as I share with you tips, tools, encouragement, so that you can quickly and faithfully jumpstart your pivot. I love you. I see you. And I look forward to seeing you next week. Please subscribe and like and share. I'm asking all three. Subscribe to this podcast. Subscribe so that we can continue to do life together. Like the podcast and share with others. Let's grow this community of Christian women who are committed to pivot so that we can live the life that God has created us to live. Yes, it has its series of pivots and turns, but let's together live the life that God has created us to live in His purpose with joy, peace, and intention. Until next time, love you. Take care. Bye-bye.